Hi, today we're diving into a website SEO audit for my lovely friend Jo Bolton from Flourish Socials. So by the end of this episode, we'll have identified some simple, quick wins for Flourish's website. So welcome, Jo. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So before we start, I have one quick question, which I always ask. If we were to meet in 6 months' time and you were telling me about the amazing things happening in your business, how would your website be helping with that?
I think if we could get some more local, so Bedfordshire-based businesses to come through the website, I think that's probably would be a good start.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your business and how your website currently sits within your marketing activities.
So we do social media marketing and content creation for businesses, whether that's Instagram Reels or going and doing content shoots. We do strategy meetings for local businesses. And our website definitely came later because for us, we were concentrating on kind of getting our social media up and running first. So we've probably had our website for, 9-10 months now. And we use it a lot more for having our event bookings and things on there. But you can see from the results, we get a lot of views and people coming through the website. So that's always a good thing.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll have a little look and dive into what we can do to help you get some more traffic.
Okay.
So there were a couple of things, obviously looking at your website, when I had a little look earlier and just looking at some of the things sort of from a technical point of view and from a content point of view, there's definitely some areas that you could improve on and just or develop really. It's one of those things that I feel like I've been bullying Jo into getting her website live.
Is it a good thing that she's your friend because she just helps you and encourages you?
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about local, and if you're thinking about you want to get more people locally to come through your website, I would definitely take some time firstly to create a list of the things that you want to show up for. So if it's social media management Bedfordshire, also how you could be more specific with the areas that you want to show up for. So that could also be social media Bedford, social media Amptill, social media Milton Keynes, those kind of things. You could potentially create some pages on your website that actually relate to that. That would then immediately bring your website to a much more local focus. I love that you've got a Google profile. We're not talking about your Google profile today, but I love that you've got one. That's a big thing that you can do. It's one of the biggest things and the best things you can do for local SEO is making sure you've got a Google profile that you're updating and that you are linking between that and your website. So anything that you can do to show Google and AI bots and Bing and anything that's actually any of the bots that are reading your website, anything you can do to show it that you are based in Bedfordshire and that's where you work, and that's where you work with your clients, all the better really.
So on my Google profile, when I add stuff to the profile, I always link. So it says like learn more, and then I always put the website address in there.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. One thing I would say is that you will add to your website over time. The content will develop over time. But one of the things that you could do to immediately up the trust level and up the authority of your site, which anything when we're trying to stand out against all of the competition out there, everything else online is all about showing Google and I'm going to just keep saying Google, but I do mean any search engine, showing it that you are the authority on that topic. So the way that you can do that is by showing some results you've had. So you could actually create some case study pages for some of your local clients. So for example, I know you've got clients in Mastermind, so you could potentially create a case study page, and it doesn't have to be a long case study. I've just started putting case studies on my website and they're probably about definitely less than 500 words on the case study. So what I basically will put on there is who the client was, what kind of business they had, the problem that they were facing, what we did, so like they booked a VIP day or something like that, and then the result essentially, and obviously a testimonial or something like that in there as well. But you could create a few to start off with. You could create a few of those for the businesses that are based in Bedfordshire. That would immediately help you to have some URLs. So when you're looking at flourishsocialhub.co.uk, the bit after the slash, if you could get some of those that say Bedfordshire or say the local areas and maybe the kind of businesses you've helped. So if it was flourishsocialhub.co.uk/Bedfordshire-gym or something like that, that would then help for you to show up in searches locally for Bedfordshire. Or you could even you could have Bedfordshire social media management, And you would always put dashes in between the words. So
Okay.
when you're using the URLs, because then it makes it easier for people and for the bots to read. But you could do that even with your services pages. You could just develop that, and having something that's actually got your location in those URLs within your website is a way you could get some quick wins. So you could immediately help to show that you are more of this location. One of the things I have on my website, in the footer, I have a little thing that says based in Bedfordshire, or no, I think it says based in Marston Mortain, Bedfordshire, helping women in business worldwide, or something like that, because my audience is global. But you could do that. You could definitely have that in your footer, and then that will be on all of the pages of your website, having your location there. And it doesn't have to be a specific address, but just that Bedfordshire or Bedford, or, you know.
When I look up, just want to see where you are on the pages on Google, I always do like social media management Bedfordshire, because that's kind of the area that we cover. So that's something that I've been wanting to put in there, not knowing where. So
yeah, so definitely do that. And when you're looking at that page on the Google search results, bearing in mind that yours is more likely to show you because you will have looked at that before, and Google understands that. And this is one of the tricky things as we're moving forward with AI overviews and with AI do it search results, is everybody will be getting individual search results. So you can't always guarantee that if you're showing up for you, that you would be showing up for me, or if my mum searched for you.
Well, I don't show up yet, but that's the goal.
I mean, definitely show up when you search for yourself. It would be a good start, definitely.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, thinking about what can you do to kind of raise that authority locally for you. When I did a little search here. So if anybody does want to see what Google is indexing, so indexing is where Google can actually read your pages and then put it into Google's index, which is like the big library that Google creates of all of the web pages, and then it tries to understand the information on those web pages and put them in the right categories, essentially. It's like a big library, and Google's working out which shelf our web pages go on. What you can do is you can go to Google, in the search bar at the top here, you would put site, flourishsocialhub.co.uk, and then you'd hit enter. And then what this will tell you is how many pages Google has actually got in its index relating to your website. So you've got 9 pages here, and this is where you would build your content out over time. So the first page it's showing up is your home page and frequently asked questions, about us, event, reviews, and then you've got the login there for the back end and password reset, those sort of things. So over time, this is where we want to see more and more stuff as you create more pages. And this is a good way to check whether there's something that's preventing your website from showing up in Google. So if you know you've got 20 blog posts and Google's only showing 9 results, it means something is actually blocking Google from indexing those other pages. Quite a good way if people are looking for how to actually see what Google understands. Aside from getting Google Search Console set up, which is 100% the thing that I recommend for all of my clients straight away, make sure you've got Google Search Console set up. It's very simple to do, and it can help you to understand how Google sees your website. So it helps you to understand what you are showing up for, what terms you are showing up for, and more importantly, what you're not showing up for. And then you can start thinking about, okay, if I want to show up for social media management Bedfordshire, which page of my website is the most relevant to that? So which page of my website talks about that? And I'd say maybe that would be your services page. And then you have to think about, okay, how can I then mention social media management Bedfordshire in there? Or maybe it could be that you create a case studies page that talks about all your Bedfordshire clients, and then they lead to individual pages that help to build out that authority. There's many different ways that you can kind of be creative to get your content showing up.
The services page is definitely something that's on my list.
On the list of things. Yeah, I think that would be a good one. And when you're thinking about those services, then think, because you're adding it as a new page, think about, okay, how can we use the URL? So social media services Bedfordshire, that could be a way to actually increase the authority of that services page when you create it. So I would definitely think about that. And one thing to do, if you're not sure what to put on that page, or you're not sure what kind of page would be a good one to show up for that, is see what other kind of pages are showing up on Google. So if you think, okay, yeah, I want to show up social media management Bedfordshire, and you type that into Google and Google is showing a load of blog posts, then it's unlikely that it's then going to show your services page. It's much more likely that it's actually going to be a lot of services page and people offering that as a service. So if somebody's searching for something, thinking about that intent behind the search. Are they trying to find someone to help them with this? Or are they trying to find DIY courses on how to do it? Or are they trying to read information about it? With that kind of location-based thing, more often than not, people are trying to find someone to help them with it, or trying to find somewhere to buy that particular thing. So it's always good to think about that as well. And as you're creating new pages on your site, it's worth thinking about the structure of those pages. So this is something that feels a bit technical, but actually I think you're in a really good position because you haven't got a vast website. You can start thinking about these things as you're adding the page in. It is a case of actually just taking a few minutes to learn about your website builder. I know you're using GoDaddy, and we'll just skip over that right now.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yes. I mean, as you've said to me before, it's serving you right now, so that's fine. But it's just a case of working out in the back end of GoDaddy how you can do these things that can help to lay out your pages in a logical and a structured way. And unfortunately, a lot of the website builders, especially the drag and drop ones, are kind of set up a little bit to make us fail. The way the builders are set up, we use them to make the page look pretty and to make some headings bigger and some text bigger. And actually, the way that it's designed in terms of how bots read our website, and the same with accessibility, how if someone's using something like a screen reader, those headings, we call them heading tags, and you'll see them in the back end of your website builder where you select it and it basically changes the size of your text, and so it might change the color, it might change the font, whether it's a heading or content font. But that's actually designed to give a logical structure to your page. So I show you, I have a fantastic Google Chrome plugin. It's a free plugin and it's called AIO SEO. So it's all-in-one SEO. But if you go into Google Chrome, search the Chrome store for this plugin. It's a really good one. If you're trying to just start thinking about your SEO, it's a great one to have. I use it literally multiple times a day. And what this does is it shows you the kind of back end of how Google is actually reading your website. So this shows you your page title and description, which is really important for SEO. So I noticed that on your about page, you mentioned Bedfordshire in your about page, but it's worth thinking as you're actually building out that content where you mention Bedfordshire, thinking about, okay, which page should I have that in the page title and in the description? You can get ChatGPT to help you with this. That's something that I would always say now is if you're struggling to think about what to put in your page titles, your page descriptions, you could copy the content from that page into ChatGPT. So do a copy and paste, or you could even just put the URL of the page in there. Most often now, ChatGPT can actually go and read the web pages. You might get the occasional thing where it's playing up it. But either way, you can get that page into ChatGPT, let it know what you do, and ask it what's a logical keyword to try and rank this page for. When you do that, it will then give you some potential. And this is a thing where actually just having a little bit of knowledge and just putting some thought into what you want to show up for and which page of your website is the most appropriate for that is a good way to start before you start relying on what the AI is telling you to do. But if you do that, you can then ask it to suggest an SEO optimized page title and description for that particular page. Do double check because it often will not give you the right length of characters. So ideally we want the page title to be it says under 70 characters here. I tend to keep mine around 65 characters. It depends what characters you've got in there. If you had a whole paragraph full of the letter I, it would take up a lot less space than it was all W's. So sometimes it will get truncated at about 60 characters. Sometimes it will be 65. But essentially what this is showing is when we look at a Google search results page, the page title is this bit that shows in this purpley color here. The page description is the bit that shows below it. So the page title is kind of the thing that captures people's attention. The page description is the thing that hopefully makes them click through to our web page. Google doesn't always take notice of these things. If you page title and description in there and Google reads the page and thinks, that's not what that page is about, Google does then sometimes overwrite them. So it is worth paying some attention to this and thinking, okay, does this make sense for the information that's actually on that page? But yeah, you can do that. You can use ChatGPT or Google Gemini or any of the AI tools to help you with these descriptions and title. And then when you're looking at the content of the page, if you come over to this all-in-one SEO plugin, what we ideally want is we want our content of our pages laid out kind of like an English essay. So you would have one title, and then within that you would maybe have subtitles, and then within those subtitles you'd maybe have subheadings within that as well. Okay. What ideally we would have is one H1 heading. Every page of our website should ideally just have one H1 heading. It should be at the top of the page. So it's normally in this hero section here at the top of the page. And ideally that should contain that keyword. So keyword, key phrase, whatever you're trying to rank that page for. If this was a page where we were trying to rank for social media services Bedfordshire, we would want that to say that here in the H1 heading, in the title, in the description, naturally, as long as it sounds natural. That's one little caveat for that. If it doesn't sound like something a human would say to another human, then don't put it in there. Reword it or leave it out or phrase it differently. But yeah, ideally, what that would then say is something like social media management services Bedfordshire or something like that. And okay. Unfortunately, this is something where there can sometimes be a bit of a dispute between the SEO people who want to get the keyword in there to the copywriting people who want it to sound more natural. And I definitely would say go for the natural, but sometimes we can then choose clever over simple. And I would definitely always make it clear as soon as somebody lands on your page, what you do, how you're going to make their life better and what they need to do to get it. And that's more important than anything in terms of keyword targeting or anything like that. I think if somebody lands on your page, they should immediately know what you do, really. So we want just one H1 heading, and then below that, think about the page and think about what would be the subheadings within that. Definitely on your homepage, it's sometimes a bit different because our homepage is almost like the lobby that can then send people off into different pages of our website. So the rules don't always fully apply to the homepage. But ideally, what I'd love to see in here is a little bit more about the services you offer. So when I looked at your, which page was it? Oh, that was me for the next event, our next local networking event. Fancy finding that there. So in our services, the subheadings on your homepage could be social media marketing services, social media management, content creation, advertising, content shoots. Those kind of things could be good subheadings within that homepage. Okay. And then that could all then link. You could have a little description of each, and that could link to those pages over time, eventually, obviously, but having individual services. But it's something that you're then talking about what you're doing. You're talking about how you're helping clients. You're talking about what you're doing with your clients on your pages of your website. It's much more likely then to bring people.
Can you link to, or maybe it would be better in a case study, like link to their page, like to see the content we've created?
Yeah. So I think the balance here,
because obviously it's taking them to their page, not our page.
Even just taking them to their page, it's taking them to their social media pages. Like if it was linking to their website, then that might be slightly better. I would definitely say if you're going to do that, make sure these links open in a new tab. We tend to generally, if it's something where it's linking to our own website content, open it in the same tab, or if not, open in a new tab. Because what we don't want them to do, and this is always an issue, and I quite often will see this with websites where they've got their social media links right up in the header. And it's a balancing act. It depends on your strategy for your website. But once they're off your website and they're on social media, they're scrolling social media. Yeah. Whereas actually the goal is that we keep them on your page long enough for them to scroll to the next section, and then the next section, and then the next section, until they take the action that we want them to take, whether that is booking a call with us, booking like a discovery call or something, buying one of your online courses. I know you've got online courses coming out soon, booking onto an event, joining your email list. And that's another thing to think about. What action do you want them to take on this page? And then how can we actually just keep them on our page long enough for that to happen, to sort of grow your authority and trust with them until they take the action that you want to. There's definitely a bit of a balancing act really there. I really would be inclined, if you were thinking about client case studies and you were thinking about, okay, how can I show what we've done for them, but keep people on our website, is to have some screenshots there. And you could even record a video showing a scroll of what you've done, but not then linking to their social media account. I think that would be better. It certainly would help to build the authority on your own website. And that's what we're trying to do really, is just, as I say, helping Google and helping bots to understand that you are the authority on this particular subject. And I would think about that as well. Think about like the important things that you want to show up for on Google, but then just thinking about how you can create some content over time that helps Google understand why you are so amazing at creating content for your clients, why you have so much fun with your clients. That's definitely something I was looking at. I was thinking about your website is, I think the thing that is potentially missing in here is the personality. So I know yourself and Becky, and I know that you are a comedy double act, so we need to get that across in your website there as well, really. And showing that why that, and not just that, but just why that is a benefit to your client, why that is helpful to them, why that makes their lives better, having you in their corner, taking this off their plate as well, because that's the big thing. Is so many people don't want to be bothered with social media, or they just, they want to have the fun parts of it as well. So if you can help them with that and get that across in your website. And the reason, probably something that's good to mention, is the reason that I bang on about websites is because you own it. So no algorithm change can take that away. Yes, something might happen and you might lose some of your Google rankings, but you still own that domain. Even if GoDaddy went away tomorrow, you still own that domain name. You can then create those URLs somewhere else, and it's something that you own. And so that's why everything that I say, whether people are using social media with a minimalist approach or going all in, create content that you own first, and then use that as the sort of starting point to then use for your social media.
Good. Lots of tips.
Any questions at this point?
No, I don't think so. I definitely feel like I can go away and maybe make a service page, which was kind of my plan anyway, and then have a Bedfordshire related case study page and just kind of highlight our main clients in there.
Yeah, definitely. Good. In terms of showing up locally as well, you could even create a page for your clients locally and then link to their websites. And even if you're showing what you've done for them on social media, but you're linking to their websites, that then increases your authority locally as well.
Some of them we've done content for their websites, so they've used our pictures on their websites and things. So.
Absolutely, yes. So maybe have that on there as on your services page as well, because the benefit of that is then you're creating that content that is evergreen. They're going to be able to use that forever, really. And people creating content for their websites is tough. It's one of the things, I've building websites over the years. One of the hardest things to do is get good quality content, good quality pictures, good quality videos, those kind of things. Get that on people's websites. So I definitely would say get that on there as well. And it helps you stand out. The fact that you create content with your clients, create great content, you also show them how to make it easier, I think makes a big difference, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing I would just quickly say as well about the events page, maybe have the events that you've done previously, keep them on there. I don't know if that is an option in GoDaddy, but if you can keep them on there. I was so glad to come along to the Real in New Year workshop. It was such a great day. And you had so much feedback from that, both in the WhatsApp group that you created, but on the day and with other people, what they've put on social media and the results that they've had from that. If you could have a page on your website called Real Workshop that shows what happened on that event, and then maybe a waiting list for the next one.
Yes, that's
something that you've got lots of content elsewhere, just bringing that onto your website, that immediately raises your authority on the fact that you know how to teach people how to create reels and the value that you've given to your clients. And it doesn't have to all be official reviews. You could have some of those screenshots from the amazing things that people have put in the WhatsApp group. You could definitely have that on there. People, if they're happy for you to share. If they're not, then blank their names out and you can still share the comments on there, really.
Okay.
So, and have those on your homepage as well. Anything where you can really show how you've helped people, and especially the comments that are talking about how you've made people's lives better and the kind of benefit that's brought them, then that would be really really good for your website as well.
Okay, we'll give that a go. That's a good point. I like that one.
So you've got a list of things to do, definitely. I mean, as I say, creating content over time, that will come. It will, it's something you don't necessarily need to be creating loads of blog posts. I've created a couple of recent episodes talking about the fact that it doesn't have to all be blogs. It can be those services pages, even your homepage, your events page, your about page. On your about page, I'd love to see a bit more of your personality or your personalities there.
In what way? Like with a video or?
Yeah, you could have a video. The only thing I would say with a video is make sure that it's not then slowing your website down. So depending on how GoDaddy handles that, but just even pictures. I think I was looking at your Instagram page and there's this picture where it's somebody taking a picture and Becky hiding behind her.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff shows your personality so well. And we often do this where we have so much stuff on our social accounts and we don't then add that to our own website, which is the thing that we own and the thing where people come and have a nose around and find more about us. Pictures like this, this picture of you and Becky there would be amazing on your about page. I think we can often end up thinking, we need to make our website the professional part of it. Not that that's not professional, but if clients are going to be working with you, they need to know that this is you.
That's actually what we're like.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what makes you stand out. Even like the pictures from at Christmas in our local networking group, you'd set this up for us in your network. I'm talking about our local networking group, your networking group.
My networking group.
Your networking group. And even just having that kind of stuff in there, this is the kind of fun that we have when we're working with you.
on the homepage, I've got the Instagram thing, so you can see right at the bottom. It might be that it's too far down. If you keep scrolling down, it's got, so there should be all the posts.
Yes, that was one thing I did notice, and I was going to mention that to you actually. That needs to be broken.
Interesting.
And I had a look because I thought maybe it's a Google Chrome thing. I thought maybe some of my plugins are, because often that happens where it will just make things not quite work properly. I had a look on Microsoft Edge and it doesn't seem to be working. And I had a look on my phone as well, and it's not working on there. But again, if clients are putting this on their website, I would then be saying to them, is that going to then take people off to Instagram? And for you, if your clients are there on Instagram, then that might be appropriate to do that. But it's just having that strategy in there and maybe just keeping an eye on it. And you can see that in Google Analytics, where you can then see if people are actually leaving your website and going through onto socials. But yeah, definitely thinking about that. But even if you don't have that there, having some of that personality coming across as well. You've done your A to Z of social media and even that kind of stuff. You know, you could create very, very short blog posts based on those A to Zs. It could be less, 500 word blog, the A to Z of social media. And it could even just be one page of A to Z of social media, and you could add it in there, and you could always build that out as extra content over time, really. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think blogs probably, and a podcast potentially, like later on down the road. That's definitely something that we'd like to do for sure.
Yeah, we've talked about podcasts. I can't wait for you to start a podcast. It's been so incredible in my business that I really hope you do that as well, really.
Yeah, I love listening to them, so I might make one of my own.
And if you're there creating content anyway, even if you just took those A to Zs and uploaded those to a podcast app, because it doesn't have to be long episodes on a podcast, but this is another thing that you own. And this is the reason I love podcasts, is because, again, you own it. And especially if you're then bringing that back to your website as well, that's a really great way to then raise the whole authority online. And people get to know you in podcasts as well. They choose to listen when they're doing other things in their life. And it's definitely been transformative in my business. So I'm very excited for when you start doing that.
We'll be listening to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like you've got a million and one things to do. I always try to keep them to about 2 to 3 things, but I just always get carried away.
I love it.
Oh, you can do this and do that and do this.
It's fun because we can just slowly work on doing little bits and adding in the case studies. I like that idea because then people can really see what the work is that we do. So yeah, that's a good place to start, I think.
And I think with doing that, what it does is it helps just to take people along that buyer's journey a little further. So it helps people understand why you're different to all of the other social media managers out there and everybody else that's out there. It helps them to understand also why using you to do that is so much better than them trying to do it themselves as well. I think if you can get that across and just help people to understand what the big benefit of that is, then that can definitely be
I mean, as well, it's not that we don't work with people that aren't local either. So it's not just Bedfordshire people to work with. It's just that Bedfordshire is where we can travel to do the content shoot. So people outside of Bedfordshire would have to create their own content and send it to us, and we'd work with them in a different way, which is probably why I focus on Bedfordshire area, because that's the side of the business I really enjoy, going up, meeting the client and doing the content.
I think you've actually hit a really good point there. The fact that if we are an online business and we can do it, we can work anywhere. Theoretically, we can work anywhere. That we kind of sometimes then think, oh, I've got to work everywhere. But actually, even if you did make that decision of, yeah, we only work with clients who we can go and travel to within this, certain area, I think actually that's a good thing, because it then keeps your focus there. You're not thinking about how can I reach people in Scotland. You're thinking about those local businesses, and local SEO is so much easier to do than nationwide SEO and global SEO in general. So if you can keep that, there's so much more potential for you to connect with people easier through SEO locally. And there's an abundance of businesses. You only have to look on Google Maps and see how many, like even on my local estate, I look on Google Maps and I'm like, there's so many businesses around here that I think actually, I don't think that's a bad plan anyway, just to keep it local businesses. I love local businesses. They're amazing. And they all need help with their social media as well.
Absolutely. And we're happy to help.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So I think the main things to focus on is, first of all, thinking about what do I want to show up for on social media? What do I want to show up for on my website? That's hilarious. I might leave that in. So what do I want to show up for on Google, and which pages of my website are the most appropriate for that? And try and think of one key phrase per page to start off with, and then you can optimize for that. That will then help you to decide whether that's a page that's already there that you can optimize that, or it's something where you need to create new content. And that will just happen over time. And as you're creating those pages, get this all in one SEO plugin and just think about how can I have a logical layout of my page. And that does quite a big difference. That back end structure of your pages being right as you're actually building it just helps. It all helps. It helps Google to understand how your website is laid out, really. Any questions or anything?
No, I think that's kind of covered it all. Thank you so much.
You have a year's worth of homework to do now.
I think, yeah, there's definitely plenty for us to kind of look at. And I like the idea of putting more of our personality into it, because that is that side of us that people know and sets us apart, I guess, from other people.
Yeah. And you're building an asset for the future then as well. It's not just, you're not just, building content that then doesn't keep performing for you. And you can link to that from socials and back and everything. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, amazing. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So before we finish, I'd love to give yourself another shout out and let everyone know again what you do, and most importantly, where they can connect with you and find out more.
So we are Flourish Socials, and we also, I forgot to say that I run the local networking group. So we do Flourish networking for women in business in the Bedfordshire area once a month on the second Wednesday of the month. So you can find out all the details on our website, Flourish Social Hub, or you can go to our Instagram, which is the Flourish Social Hub as well. Yeah, social media management and content creation and networking for the local business. There you
Fantastic.
go.
And I'm a member of Joe's networking group and Joe and Becky's networking group, and absolutely love it. It's a really supportive community, and yeah.
And you're speaking.
And I'm speaking for the third time as Louise. So if this episode has made you think about getting more traffic to your website, then visit the website successhub.com/start to download my free beginner's guide to SEO. And thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here, Joe. And I'll see you soon.